Welcome back. I have HeHe here on the podcast with me today, and I'm so excited to interview her. I just want to share a little bit about how we originally connected, and then I'll turn it over to you, HeHe. I found HeHe on Instagram back in 2021, and she will tell you more about what she does, but it's all birth related. And if you've been here for any amount of time, you know that I love pregnancy and birth and all the things. And so I've just been following her. I haven't been pregnant since then, but just binging your content because I love it. And there was a day, maybe like 6 to 12 months ago, where I saw a reel that you posted. And I don't know if you're going to remember this or not. And it stopped me in my tracks. I don't remember what you were talking about or what you said, but what I remember is how I felt when I watched it. And my reaction was, I haven't seen this level of genuine care in a long time. Like I could feel your heart, if that makes sense. And so I sent it to you and I said something along those lines. And since then we've gotten to know each other better. And, I've been on your podcast, but yeah, that's just how I found you, and just wanted to share that about your work because I know other people appreciate when content creators and business owners are real.
Thank you so much. Authenticity is something that I hold very high for myself and others. So I expect it from other people because I am such a genuine and authentic person, which is both good and bad. I didn't know that's how you had found me until today. So thanks for sharing that. That's amazing. I'm super honored.
You're welcome. Why do you say bad? I see it as good.
Why do I say it's both good and bad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because authenticity can sometimes bring negative light, right? So if you are really taking a stand on things, not everyone's going to be happy about that. And I didn't ever experience that really growing up or really in college. It wasn't until, I guess, not even in early adulthood. It wasn't even until I started my business that I started to face pushback for oh my God, you believe that? And I was yeah.
Yeah.
Is that bad? And so it just brought things that I didn't know. Also, sometimes you can be, I think, too honest on topics. And I'm not always really great at reading my own barometer of that. And so sometimes I put things out and I'm like, well, this is the message that I would want to hear in this situation. And the internet's like, whoa, that was maybe a little too harsh. Yeah. And that authenticity can sometimes get me in hot water, if you will.
I see. Yes. Listeners will definitely relate to at least some of that. And I know I don't ever want to be judged either. And at the same time, I always remind myself, if they're judging me, they're judging themselves. And I had a client recently was like, what do you mean by that? Like they're judging themselves. I get how that works sometimes, but not all the time. And maybe if they would have done that thing, they would have judged themselves. Or if they previously did something like that, they would have judged themselves, or they would never allow themselves to because they would judge themselves. So they're judging you. Anyways, let me have you introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Well, I'm HeHe. I am the founder of Tranquility by HeHe, which is a maternity concierge service for people having their babies. I also am the founder of the Birth Lounge, and that is an online childbirth education for people who are having a hospital birth, but are also aware that the hospital system may not be set up for you to have a autonomous, really kind of informed birth, that there's obvious gaps in the care. And so we bridge those gaps in the Birth Lounge, and then also the Birth Lounge app, which is a mobile app. You can download that in the App Store. And it's a little mini version of our childbirth education course. It's articles that you can read that will help empower you for your prenatal appointments with your doctor. Childbirth education and authenticity.
Beautiful. And that's why I was like, oh, I wish I found you because I had unmedicated hospital births. And even some of the pushing techniques that I've seen you post, I'm like, I could have used that for my first delivery.
Do you know, I hear that all the time. That is probably something that I hear the most is I wish I would have known about you. And I'm
Mhm.
currently trying to turn that statement into I'm so glad I found you. And that's a hard place to be. It's really tough having so many people say that they wish they had known this when I'm like,
Mm.
it was available. How did we miss each other? How do I fill that gap of getting to these people before they have their babies so that they can go into the hospital system and have this really confident, empowering experience that they felt supported and heard through rather than just like
Yes.
someone else going through the system that's just a random doctor and it's just like you're being told what to do, which is often
Mhm.
how people feel.
Yeah, very, very often. I know. I struggle with the same thing where I have people say, like, oh, I had no idea you existed or that I could get help in this way. I'm always like, spread the word, folks. If you're resonating with this, share it with people that you know because we don't want people to struggle. Okay, something that I'm curious about is your personal development journey, which maybe that started when you started your business, or maybe that was before. Tell me a bit about that.
When I started my business, I was trying to learn all the things, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I don't have a business background. I don't have a degree in business. My degree is in psychology, and my higher degree is in human development and family studies. So I know the body, I know human development, I know family systems, I know human psychology, but I didn't know how to start a business. And so everyone in business started talking about working on yourself and manifestation. And so as I was just consuming everything, I started to be like, oh, wow, I should look into that. And then when I did, I started to realize, oh my gosh, I already do a lot of these things
Yeah.
kind of intuitively. This is just kind of how I do it. And so then obviously that just feeds that little dopamine hit and you're addicted from there. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I wanna look into this. And I'm 10 years in now or nearly. And I can see seasons where I was not prioritizing myself or my
Mm,
mindset or for me currently it's my nervous system, aren't we all? But there are seasons where I prioritize other things, mainly my business and growing and nurturing the team that works with me or really launching a new product or
mhm.
getting out there and attending so many bursts to see this new trend that we're seeing or whatever it was. I feel like, and I know that the people who had the services are totally happy and their mind was blown, I just like the
Yes.
service that we had. But I always can see places where I'm like, I could have done that better if
Mhm.
I had just been working on myself. Nobody else knows
Mm.
I could do it better because they're like,
Yeah,
wow, that was amazing. But me, when I look back and I evaluate my own performance, I can say, like,
I can relate.
shoot, if I was just working on myself, or like, dang, if I was using the mantra that I'm using today, then that would have never
Mm.
happened. It's a priority now. It's something that I don't go without. And when I do go without, it's very temporary because my life shifts and I don't like it. And I like to live in the space that I like.
Mhm.
Obviously, we all like comfort. I like to live in the space that I like. And so when I start slipping, I don't like the way that I feel. I don't like the thoughts that I have. I don't like my performance. I don't like the anxiety. I feel like
Yeah.
my coping mechanisms and the tools that I have built in my toolbox are not accessible because I'm struggling. Whereas if
Yeah.
you're mentally being nurtured and you're watering that garden of
Mhm.
yourself,
Mhm.
then you're able to perform and you can really like just be the best version of yourself. And you deserve that. I
Yes.
mean, the people around you deserve that too. Your family, your clients, your
Mhm.
friends.
I couldn't agree more. I will say there's for me, a definite difference before I opened my business and after. I always have a mentor or coach now. And
Mhm.
there's not been a gap. Before, it would be on, off, here, there, and what a difference it makes. I heard another business call it stay in the bubble,
Mm,
and that resonates with me because it keeps it top of mind in terms
yeah.
of how do I want to show up? How do I want to move through the world? And then you keep getting better and better over time, more and more healed, and it's so beautiful. I had a thought pop up now that you've been in business nearly a decade. Is it this year? When is the anniversary?
I start my 10th year, so I'm on my ninth year. It started in
Oh,
October, but I
oh,
will hit my 10th year of business in October.
in
Oh,
October. That's so exciting.
crazy.
If someone is listening today and they have big dreams and they don't maybe even know what, they just know there's more for me and there's fear there and they're scared. What advice would you give them? And maybe if that was you, what advice would you give the old you?
The old me never thought that we couldn't make it here. But what I didn't know was what it was going to look like. So I would say it's okay if you don't have all the pieces figured out. If you know there's something out there for you, you should do it because you wouldn't have that feeling if it weren't true. You know, if that wasn't really for you, why would that thought cross your mind? It's clearly true. Now your brain and your heart is just waiting on your body to like put the action towards it. So you just have to decide for yourself, like, all right, I'm going to buy this domain. Okay. I'm going to publish this website. All right. I'm going to launch this first digital product. Oh my gosh. I'm starting a social media page. I'm growing on YouTube. So, and you can see that it's baby steps and do it smart too. You see entrepreneurs all the time that say like, you should just go all in and just like, you have to be all in. You may not be able to do that financially, and that is okay. That's like how probably most of us get our start. You don't have to be an all-in person if that doesn't work for you. If you drive yourself into massive debt to build your business, it's going to be really hard to get to your first milestone of success because you're always going to feel like you're having to repay back things. So just because you see it on the internet does not necessarily mean it has to be your story. If that's motivating for you, then use it as motivation of like, okay, that is my goal. I am working towards by the end of this year, I don't have to do my full-time job and I can do this full-time. I can be that 100% in. That was a bunch of advice, but I think that would sum up kind of where I would tell the person who is sitting on the fence of like, oh, I have this urge, but I'm like so scared to do it.
Yes.
You should do it.
Do it. And I love that you said like small steps because I find a lot of people that come in my world, they want to know A to Z. And it just does not work like that. You take step A and then clarity for the next step will come. And then you take that step and more clarity will come. It's real tempting to want A to Z, but you will always stay where you are if you want that because I've never met somebody that's like, boom, that's the whole thing, you know?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that about the people in your circle because I too am an A to Z person and I used to actually map out A to Z. I used to know exactly every single step. It would take up so much of my time. It was so diligent. It was so intentional. It was every single thing. And then two things happened. First of all, it never happened like that, ever.
It never did.
It literally never worked out. Not that those were bad ideas, but there were just variables that popped up and it was like, oh, well, that's not a possibility anymore. Okay, great. That led me to these like massive, they weren't really freakouts, not physically, just like emotional turmoil of like, oh my God, okay, this did not work out. How am I supposed to make this work? Like, oh my God, like, and I'm off my plan now. And just how am I going to do this? This was not how it was supposed to go. How am I going to make this work? This is literally my business because I had already done the 100% in. I was done working full time. I was 100% in my business. When things didn't go according to plan, it was like, there's my livelihood. And I started to learn like, okay, you really just need the first, like, really 1, 2, 3. I'm an A to Z person, so I may do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I know 3, 4, 5 might change. Really, you just need like that first step. And then a step after that so that when those people do come to you, you have somewhere to send them. If you're like me, I need a second place to send them because anxiety. And then from there, I just like to have like some options like, okay, if they stick around, here are the things. So there's that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't really need that much to map out. And you should not be married to any idea because here's the thing. Your audience is going to tell you what they like and what they don't like. And it doesn't matter the size of your audience. If you have 200 people that are watching you, that's 200 opinions that you can say, how does this land with you? Is this the message you're looking for? This is what's on my heart to share with you today. Did that do what you needed it to do? Is that what you wanted to hear today? I just learned about this education. Is this interesting to you? Do you want more of this? And those 200
Mhm.
people will not only engage with you, but they will go out and tell their friends. And if you have a audience of 100,000, then that's 100,000 opinions that can give you feedback and go out and share, which comes with its problems as well.
It
It
does. It
really
does.
does.
As you were talking over the last few minutes, you alluded to emotional trials and struggles that came up and mindset things. Do you want to share more about it? Really could be anything on your heart, or it could be something like who you were when you first started and who you are now.
Yeah. You know, I don't know why this is making me sad, but I recently watched videos of myself when I first started my business,
Mhm.
and I was so vibrant and happy, and I was so like undamaged, and I can feel the difference
Yeah.
in the person that I am, how I show up because of the things I've seen.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. But it also motivates me because I think that a lot of our medical professionals are feeling that way.
Yeah.
And nobody ever stops to think about like what kind of traumas they have and they see every
Mm,
day. And it makes me super compassionate because I work really hard to reconnect with that girl that I used to be,
yeah.
even though she's gone as a whole. But there are pieces of her that I can still hang on to. Yeah, wow, that was a tough question.
Yeah. So, one of the things that you're alluding to, you tell me if this sounds right or if I'm off. I don't mind being wrong at all, but it
Yeah.
sounds like some ghost wounds where it's like things that happened in the past that were heavy that from time to time it can come up and bring about a wide variety of emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is so much trauma that I have witnessed in the hospital system
Yeah.
from medical providers to women,
Yeah.
from physicians to nurses, from nurses to women. It's a lot. And I think I was prepared for some of it, but some of it is so unbelievable that you walk away and it's not until later that you process just how traumatic that thing was or that scenario was or that interaction was. And it is really tough. Okay, I'll give you an example of something that has happened a lot after a birth. So I'll go to a birth, it'll be traumatic,
Yeah.
and the entire next day, I literally cannot stop crying. I
Mm,
can't stop having flashbacks. I can't stop reseeing, rehearing.
yes.
There is something about hearing an episiotomy, and I've only heard it
Yeah.
once, and I can hear it. Oh my God. Anytime I
Yeah.
hear the word, oh, it rings in my ear. And so that is definitely a ghost wound. I think being online has given me ghost wounds or just wounds in general. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells, but sprinkled in there are like these little glass shards. And it's like everything will be going great. And then all of a sudden, you're sliced wide open. And it's like, wow, I'm getting whiplash from what the internet wants. And it's a really tough place. And, online bullying is for real. And we
Mhm.
think that it is a high school thing. I did. I always thought it
Mhm.
was a teenager thing. We would leave it there. And adults are some of the worst bullies I've ever. Adult women are some of the meanest humans I've ever encountered online. And it is just, people will say some of the most outlandish things. And you are like,
Mhm.
I am a human.
Yeah.
There's a human
Yes.
on the other side of this.
Yes.
On that screen name that you are tagging, I am a real person. I for sure miss her.
Yeah.
I miss
Yeah.
the person I was before that.
Two of the things that I like to do with clients for these types of traumas, traumatic events are subconscious reprogramming
Yeah.
and using breath work to heal the wounds, the ghost
Yeah.
wounds. Yeah. Because you can think of it as if we're going to picture like a hallway in your mind. where
Mm.
you're bringing in information all the time through your senses, and most of it goes through the hallway and goes into storage. And with events like this, it's like a glob of data gets stuck in the hallway. And so the subconscious mind doesn't know that it's like not about to happen or currently happening until we push it out. And doing this with clients, I have seen the most beautiful shifts in 60 to 90 minutes where people are like in shock. Like, what did we just do?
Witchcraft.
Witchcraft, baby.
It's magic.
That's
That's
magic.
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you nailed it. Every time I hit post on a post online, my nervous system does get triggered, and I just sometimes I joke about it and I say like, I wonder how this is going to land, or I'll just take a deep breath and in my brain I'm like, "Phew, see how this one goes." And it's like you never know how things are going to land on the internet. Sometimes it's great and things take off and you're like, I didn't even brush my teeth when I had recorded that. I was still in my PJs. I have no makeup on. I am a sight to be seen. 100,000,000 views. You know, it's like every single person in the world saw that video. And then you have the ones where you're put together and you scripted it out, and it is really comprehensive and you put a lot of time into it. And it's like 2 views. Your mother and your father saw this video, and it's like perfect. Great that people don't having children, you know, and so it's like you never know on the internet. But yeah, I mean, I feel that glob. I feel it.
Yeah. We're gonna get that out.
I'm excited for the breath work. I've only done breath work a couple other times, but never in like a therapeutic way like this, more at like retreats or day things. Yeah, I think long-term breath work is something that I preach as a doula. So it's something that I should be eager to, introduce to my own life as well. Because I know the data behind it. I know that it works.
Yeah.
I should be doing it.
Now
I don't want to be that doctor that secretly goes out to the parking lot to smoke. I want to be the doctor that says, eat your fruits and veggies, and I go home and I eat my fruits and veggies as well. So I'll be the doula that practices what I preach.
There we go. So you've been through so much over the last decade. And as you think about different periods throughout those 10 years, ones that felt hard, ones that felt joyful, ones that felt excruciating, what advice would you give someone? Maybe you think of like 1 or 2 specific moments and advice that you would give them to help them be more resilient as they pursue their goals, whether it's, a business or not.
Okay, I have 2. They just dropped into my brain. The first one is like, be here right now. You can't figure out what's in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. I am the definition of fuck around, find out. Oh, are you allowed to say like bad words? Okay, well, I am a living proof of this because I could read every single book in the universe. I could listen to every single second of every single podcast ever made about business. I could have a millionaire sitting in front of me in a chair saying, don't do this or do this. And if I don't agree with you, I'm going to do it my way. And so when things would go bad, because I needed to fuck around before I found out, and I was in fact finding out, I would say like, oh my God, how is this going to impact next year? What am I going to do in 5 years? And it's like, why are you thinking about next year? You have a problem right here. Like you're trying to get to the end of the football field and you haven't even stood up. You can't even stand up. You've got something in your lap that is a problem. Like you have to first take care of right now before you can even get on the field. So be here right now. And that is true for your wins as well. So I was also really, really, really bad. I'm still not great at it. Actually, I'm still pretty awful at it, if I'm being completely honest. But I would like to be great at it. So I'm not great at it yet, but I'm getting there.
We go. There we go.
We're working on it. We're getting it. That's good for your wins too. When you have a win, just take a second to relish in it. For me, I would have a win and okay, where's the next thing? All right, where's our next win? Cool, we accomplished that. Green mark. Go. Like we're on to the next thing. I'm on to feeling that next success. So if you struggle like I do, for me right now, I'm just taking a day whatever that looks like. If I find out a big success happened early in the morning, I won't work all day that day. I will just take the whole day. If I find out in the afternoon, the next day, I just take off. And for me, that is pretty hard. That's
Mhm.
hard. So we're working on mastering that when I have a win, let's just take a moment. We're going to celebrate it. It may look like going out to get coffee that I don't typically get, or it may look like splurging on a massage. It may look like dinner with my husband or dinner with my friends or nothing. It may look like just sitting on
Rest.
the couch, yep, and napping, watching shows I haven't been able to catch up on, scrolling TikTok without a limit of like, okay, here's my 10 minutes for this, time of day. Like,
Yeah.
I just will do nothing and just give my brain a second to just not even have to think about any sort of creation. And if something
Mhm.
comes natural and a good idea comes to me naturally, but I'm not sitting at my desk trying to intentionally create. That's like my top one. That really is like my top one, because don't be like me and you get to year 7 and realize like, dang, I haven't really celebrated very much. And I have done a
Mm.
lot of work and I've really accomplished a
Yes.
lot. And also,
Yes.
not a lot of people know about it because I never talk about it. It's like I never talk
Yes.
about my wins or my successes because I'm just on to the next thing. Because for me, there's always a to-do list to make birth better. And so once I get that one done, cool. That one is sent off to the people and the women can be more educated. And I'm on to the next one because how fast can I
Mhm.
get that one out to them that is high
Mm.
quality and produced to the masses so as many people as possible can get to it? How do I just keep people as informed as possible? And it's at the expense of yourself if you do that. So just keep that in mind. Okay, number 2 is keep
Can
your
I
ideas
interject?
temporary. Oh my God, of course.
Okay. So I love that you brought this up because the episode that's coming out right before yours is about goal setting and how I everyone I think pretty much does this. The goalpost is constantly moved. So you never
Mm,
reach it.
yeah.
When you get close to reaching it or like almost there, it's like, okay, well, bigger, better, more, a greater impact can be made. And there's not necessarily an issue with that, but I made 2 points that I'm just going to throw in again in case somebody missed that episode is one, go ahead, you can move the goalpost, that's fine, but always measure your progress backward. And part of that
Mm,
is celebrating all of the wins because if I look at this ideal version of me and my business, there's always a gap there. But when I look at, oh, the last 7 years, the last 10 years, look at each of these individual goals that I met and exceeded and this and that. There's so many gains and so many positive emotions that come from that. Yeah.
that hits home for a lot of people, I think, especially for
Hmm.
me. Moving that goalpost is hard, right? Like you always do want to be bettering yourself and being a better version of yourself, but just being mindful of like, should you have
You are
multiple
enough.
goalposts? You are enough, but also like it's okay to leave one goalpost there. And so like for me, my business is doing amazing. I don't want to move that goalpost. It's doing really, really well.
Yeah.
I'm not so happy with kind of my mindset work and who I am showing up
Mhm.
as. And so
Mhm.
I right now am putting into myself. So that goalpost
Yes.
has been left behind,
Yeah.
just kind of ignored. And I want to now move it forward. I want to work on that nervous system. I want to work on getting
Mhm.
out of fight or flight. I want to work
Mhm.
on that glob of data that is saying like every single time I post something on the internet, I'm going to get bullied for it, right? I want to work through those things because I have gotten my business to a place where it is doing so well. I
Yeah.
can let it run itself now. And then I'll work
Beautiful.
on myself. And when that's good, I can go back to my business, or maybe I turn to a family and
Yeah.
start my family, or you always have options.
Always. There was one other thing that you said that I wanted to like put a emphasis on. What did you say? The phrase was like be present, like be here now essentially.
Be here now. Yeah.
And you alluded to when an issue comes up, magnifying the issue and
Mm,
catastrophizing about it. And so I just wanted to put a label to those things because they are so common, especially for
huh.
women who have perfectionist tendencies and anxiety struggles. And it's a defense mechanism actually to magnify the issue and to catastrophize about it it's beautiful advice. The way that you put it is like, actually, this is an issue right now. Let's solve it here. And even
Yeah.
trust that that's going to be taken care of. And if not, that version of me will be able to address it.
Yeah, I mean, also just logistically, if you're thinking logistically, you're never going to make it to 1 year if you don't figure
Mhm.
out the problem right now. Like the only
Exactly.
solution forward is doing what is right in front of you. And we can think
Yeah.
about 1, 5, 10 years later.
Later.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah, that one is keep going. It's temporary. So
Mhm.
last year, I went through a season of just like really struggling to show up, and I would just felt like really burnt out and just
Mm.
emotionally, I just wasn't there. I just
Yeah.
was not in a place to really show up for a community that is in a really vulnerable and influenceable time in their life, right? Is like, you need to be in control of yourself if you're going to help someone prepare to have their baby. They're relying on you to be in a certain state of mind and peacefulness and emotional intelligence. And my business was doing really well, but we were stretched so thin that it felt like everything was a struggle. So that was mentally just exhausting. And you're going to have those times in business. And that's the
Yeah.
thing is like, you have to be prepared to have those times. But if you can remind yourself that they're temporary and they will
Yeah.
go away, you will figure this out. You
Mhm.
have always figured it out before. And if you don't have that trust in yourself to like always figure it out, and I guess like in business, if you're like, okay, well, I haven't even started my business, how do I know I'm going to always figure it out? You've always figured everything else out here.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you have figured everything else out so far that you have done. So why would we think that your business is going to be any different? And if you get to a place where you don't know what to do, there are people who've done this before you, and you can go to them and you
Yeah.
can say, I really need some help. I've done it so many times over the years, and it
Mhm.
should be different people. For me, it has been other business owners, and it has been financial advisors, and I have had legal people that I have consulted, and a lot of other business professionals that I looked up to that were doing something that I wanted to replicate in a sense, or they were really good at a skill that I thought I could learn from them. And some people are going to just do it because they don't mind sharing information, and some people are going to want to be paid for it. And I've done both. And I
Yeah.
don't think anything of it. So if you're out there being like, well, I don't have any money for that, there's lots of people who will give you information for free or have consults for free. And if you're like, I don't really feel that good about paying for it, it's like, okay, you don't have to. You
Right.
definitely don't have to. But if you
Mhm.
have the money and you feel okay about paying for information, then those people have done it before you, and they could be of really big help. So just remember, when times do get bad, and they will,
There
it's
will
like you're
be
not doing
hard.
anything wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not doing anything wrong. It's just like the ebb and flow of a business. Like, name a single business that has never had bad publicity. You can't. Name a single business that has never had a hard season. You can't. It's literally just part of running a business. You're not doing anything wrong, and this will eventually go away. Some of them
Yes.
faster than others.
And one of the things that it doesn't sound like you struggle with this at all, but some people do, and I did in the past, is allowing yourself to receive help, to ask for
Mm.
help and to receive help. Because for some, depending on, sometimes it's like things from childhood where that support wasn't there, or there was some trauma around like asking for help or needing to be supported. They don't. And they have this like, I've got to do it on my own or by myself. And you just don't. And part of healing is allowing yourself to ask and receive help. And then the part when things get bad, because they will, something that makes hard times worse is telling yourself, I've been there, I'll just be transparent, this shouldn't be happening. Why not? All of us go through seasons, good seasons, hard seasons, bad seasons, incredible seasons in life, in at work, in business, in relationships, everywhere. And if you tell yourself this shouldn't be happening, it will feel a lot harder than if like, okay, this is part of the flow. What is this here to teach me?
Can I add to that just
Yeah.
and push back a little bit on it,
Oh,
maybe?
oh, okay.
Okay. When you first said that, I thought immediately, remember, A to Z person, but it shouldn't be happening. I put everything into place that this shouldn't be happening. And so for me, I do use that, but it's
Mm,
motivation for me. So I will say this shouldn't be happening. I need to figure out how it happened and it won't happen again in the future because now I learned the lesson. So I might have done A to Z. I
mm-hmm,
missed AA. And as I keep
mm,
learning, we'll get BB and we'll get CC and DD and we'll just keep going. And so
mm-hmm.
as my business has grown, as I've been a business owner longer, I've gotten obviously better at what I do. And just like you have, just
Yeah.
like our listeners have, just like everybody does, you get better as you do things. So learn from this. You don't have to beat yourself up about it because it's like I did A through Z. I thought there were only 26 letters. How was I supposed to know we had to start over with a whole second alphabet? I did not know that. Great. Now I know it. And now we're just adding even more things that we, learned. So for me, it is sometimes hard to be like, this should not be happening. I did
Mm,
everything to
yeah.
protect against this happening. And what is coming to mind
Yeah.
is bad hires. Oh
Mm,
my
yes.
gosh.
Yes. I've
Literally one
made
of the
some
most
mistakes
stressful
there too.
times. Oh, painful. Painful to know that you
Yes.
trusted somebody with your business, that you trusted to let them in the inside, that you really cared for them and you wanted to let them be part of your team. You wanted to welcome them in, and it didn't work out for one reason or the other. That is painful for me. It
Mm.
feels like sad. I feel
Yeah.
sad about that a lot
Yeah.
of times. It's tough.
I've been there. And this could be a semantics thing, or we could just have different belief systems currently on it. I will like get behind, I don't want this to be happening more than this shouldn't be happening. If you think
Hmm.
about a Chinese finger trap and this shouldn't be happening, I visualize that as like your fingers are in the trap and you're pulling away. And so it's resisting where you are right now in this moment. And while I've resisted. I've thrown temper tantrums in the moment. It didn't make it better. It didn't make it
Yeah.
go away. It actually made it last longer and it made it feel more painful. And so, how I recommend moving through this and how I've shifted for myself is okay, I don't want this to be happening. What am I supposed to learn from this? Because maybe consciously, I don't feel like I need to learn from this, but perhaps the universe knows that I do.
And probably she does. She's a very smart person.
Very,
Um,
very smart.
I think it is semantics because one of the mantras that I use a lot in times of places of just like a lot of learning is like, the
Yes.
faster I learn this lesson, the faster this can be over. And it's like, if the more you resist it and the more you put it off till tomorrow,
Yes.
then tomorrow you
Yes.
are also waking up sad and anxious and nauseous. Okay. So if you're tired
Mm-hmm.
of feeling like that, why don't you take 2 hours and think through things today? Why don't you take 10 minutes and journal through things today? Why don't you make that really hard phone call today? And
Yeah.
tomorrow, you may not wake up feeling like that. And so, yeah, I think it is just semantics. It's just like, for me, it's like, oh, I put in all of the things to make sure that this didn't happen. It did still happen. What can I learn from it? And the faster that I
Yes.
learn that lesson, the faster we can move through this and it can be behind me. And
Mm.
sometimes you learn the lesson really, really fast, and there are lingering effects from the things that are causing you turmoil. And that's okay. Again, you're not doing anything wrong necessarily. It's just kind of part of the game, which in the moment, whoa, holy cow, it feels so personal. It's like, why me? Why is this
Yeah.
happening? Am I not living right? Do the clouds hate me? Like, the people in the clouds, did they literally hate me? Why is this happening to me? And it's like, sometimes there's just lessons in business that you have to learn. No one can
Yeah.
prepare you for them. You couldn't have seen them coming. They're just
Yeah.
total curveballs. But you know what? Those are the moments that will really, if you take that on,
Yeah.
and you succeed. And you
Mm-hmm.
will, here's the thing too, you will eventually succeed if you don't give up. So if you
Yes.
don't give up, there is no other option but to succeed. Even if there are 200 million options, you will eventually get through all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So go through all of your options.
I couldn't agree more. So, this has been really good. And I'm curious if there's anything that you wanted to say that you didn't have a chance to share.
I don't think so. You should do it. If you're thinking about starting a business, you should do it. You can always change your mind. You can always shut it down if it turns out to not be what you want it to be. You can always make it bigger if you decide that you really, really like it. You really don't have a situation that you lose there. So just do
Follow
it.
your heart. And if women listening are in a season where they feel broken in some way,
Mm.
maybe, they're having these feelings where it's just like really emotionally challenging, whether they're a business owner thinking about it or not. Is there any advice that you have for them? What would you want them to know?
You don't have to keep living like that. There's help out there. There's repairs out there. There are coaches out there. Work with Dr. Steph. Seriously. You've got lots of options out there. So you don't have to keep living like that, even though I know I literally have been sitting exactly where you're sitting. I know in the moment you're like, oh, I just can't keep going like this. Okay, then don't. You don't have
Mhm.
to. Let's do something about it. Something small. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but there is definitely places and people and things to help you repair yourself if you are feeling broken.
Take a step. Love
Yeah.
it. And you're not broken. I always like to add that just because
Oh,
you feel it doesn't mean that you are, because I've
oh, that's
definitely been
good.
there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's human, right? If you went through life and you never felt broken, I would probably think you were an alien. I would
Right?
probably be like, that person is not a human. Okay, they've literally never felt broken. That's impossible. They're not human.
Yeah.
So just remind yourself, like you're not alone in that. Every single human alive has felt broken at one point, and it doesn't make it necessarily right or fun or exciting,
Mhm.
but it
Mhm.
is normal and also to be expected. So you're safe to feel that way, even though it sucks.
That's beautiful. HeHe, how can listeners find you if they want to connect?
On Instagram is probably the best place. It's
Mhm.
Tranquility by HeHe. Or you can find the Birth Lounge at the.birth.lounge, thebirthlounge.com. You have to put the www in front of it. It's super weird and finicky. So just www.thebirthlounge.com if you are interested in childbirth education. And then I also have a free podcast, and Dr. Steph was recently on it. Yeah, it's the Birth Lounge podcast. You can find that for free anywhere that you listen to your favorite shows. And I have really cool guests like Dr. Steph on the show, and we talk about all the things that you need to know. And I kind of take you through my own wellness journey as well. So if you are a 30-something girl, 90s baby that's kind of thinking about having your own babies and or you're already have started your family, you're going to feel right at home because we're doing a lot of talking about how do we live our healthiest lives and have our best pregnancy and births that are possible.
Love it. I will go ahead and link all of that in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, you guys. I appreciate it.